I'm Narelle Todd.
And I'm Essie Susan Smith.
We are the self-publishing author and marketing duo that has sold over 2 million books. But we didn't start out knowing how to sell books. Fast forward past many failed promotions and a lot of lessons learned, you will see how we went from self-publishing newbies to hitting the New York Times bestsellers list and making the USA Today bestsellers list 19 times and counting. We created the Get My Book Out There podcast to give you simple yet effective marketing strategies to increase readership and book sales, so you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, as well as some tips for staying mentally and physically well.
Let's get started.
And today we're talking on resilience, which topical for where we are at the moment. We've got 5 tips for creatives.
So your tip number 1, what would you suggest for a creative like me? Because I'm one of those people that I'm very controlled, and yet I've got like a massive amount of squirrels running around in my head, constantly trying to create chaos of their own. So what are some suggestions that you could give to me that would help someone like myself who's a creative and kind of going crazy during this time?
My first one would be breath, the very power of how we breathe. So we tend to, particularly in stress situations, be more shallow breathing. So I would say the first thing is just to be more conscious of breathing, and are you doing it way down, in your belly? Can you feel when you draw breath that you are bringing it right in, and then when you exhale, you're doing it from your belly area. So, just being more mindful of how you're breathing, even if it's something that you only remember a couple of times during the day, that's okay. There's no need to put pressure on yourself to do this perfect, but just being more conscious of it and then making sure you're doing that deep breathing.
I noticed that was one of the things that I learned how to handle stress when I was a teacher, because there's a lot of stress in teaching, and you've got, a large class size and stuff. And one of the things that I used to do is called 4x4 breathing, where I would breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, breathe out for 4, and do it 4 times. And you could almost feel the stress melting off of your shoulders. And I think that's something else, is watching your posture. I noticed that, I tend to hunch a little bit more, so that when you're doing that breathing, you kind of like sit up a little bit straighter, and because of that you get, better flow.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Get your shoulders back. Yes, you can feel your whole body change when you do that.
Step number 1 is for me to work on my breathing.
Yeah. Step number 2, I would say, would be movement. Just keep moving in some ways. So if you can go out, then a walk around your community is a good thing to do. If you're in lockdown, there could be something you can do in place. Dancing, yoga. I think you had taken up yoga, or you're looking at yoga.
Well, one of the things I was doing is for one of my books, I had to do some research, and the main protagonist was doing a meditation using Tai Chi. And so through my research, I was watching videos on Tai Chi, and I'm thinking, oh, that looks kind of neat. So if you're going to write it, a lot of times I like to try to do the movements, and, like if I'm in a fight scene or something like that, so that when I write it, I've got those movements down. And so I started doing some of the Tai Chi, and I thought, I could actually feel myself relaxing. And I'm thinking, dang, this stuff really does work. Which would be something that's good that you can do by yourself, so that you're not embarrassed doing it in front of other people. Like me, I would have to probably hold on to a chair so that I could do the leg movements. But it's one of those things that you can do in the privacy of your own home, and yet it still makes you feel good.
Yes.
So research is a good thing. And then you can write about it.
So no matter what it is, find some movement, some way to practice movement. Yoga, Tai Chi.
They used to have the Wii Fit.
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that. A long time ago, they had the Wii Fit, which did great until it insulted me. And then I put it up and I said, see, that's what happens.
I've got a dance app on my Apple TV. It's hilarious. Well, it's not, I am, but at least it's a move, it's some kind of movement. And our third tip is around control. For many creatives, you like a sense of control. We all like that. And that could manifest itself in many ways. It could be, controlling your characters. It could be controlling your environment. It could be controlling people. It could be controlling things through being a perfectionist. So if any perfectionists are out there, and I know that there will be some, that's a form of control. One thing that you'll notice when you're in high stress situations is that you'll try potentially to control more, because that way we feel like in control. But of course we can't do that in this current environment, and we can't control other people or other things. We can only look after ourselves. So
that leads me to remember the serenity prayer, where, change the things you can, accept the things you can't, and be smart enough to know the difference between the two. And at the moment, with the world kind of going crazy with this virus that's going on that we have absolutely no control of, then it's understanding what we can control, what we can't, and accepting it. It's okay. If I've got to spend 14 days in a house, well, what am I going to do during those 14 days?
yes.
And make it as pleasant as possible, whether it's doing, taking up Tai Chi in the living room, or building a fort and, being a kid all over again. It's looking at that positive aspect of it and saying, it's okay. Right now, if I don't want to be in control, I don't have to be.
Yes, yeah, for sure. Part of that, I think, is leads into our next tip around self-care. Being okay with saying, well, this is the best that I can do. I'm doing the best as I can. Just giving yourself permission to do that, and instead of putting expectations that are unrealistic. So it's really just about allowing ourselves to feel down if that's where we are in the moment, allowing ourselves to feel happy. I know that, there's been times when felt bad because I've been fortunate to still be in work, and I'm working with amazing people who are still working. Then I see other people who are in the unemployment line, and it's almost like, oh, can I feel good about? It's those feelings, I think, that are perfectly normal, and that's one thing to remember, that having that range of emotion is okay, and just going with where you're at and being okay with that.
I like one of the things that you shared with me was when you start feeling down or you start feeling guilty or this, that, or the other, one of the things I like to do is watch, some YouTube videos like the dodo, where you've got all of these wonderful animals that always make you smile and go, ah. But you were also telling me about a Facebook group where it's all positive acts, where people are, talking about positive things that have happened to them in this crazy time. And it's also a great time to meet other people. You may not be able to go out and say hi to your neighbors except from a distance, but I've seen some really creative ways where people are still doing that, and you may actually get to meet your neighbor.
Yes. One of the things I've done around self-care is limit how much time I spend on social media and watching the news. I watch it enough so that I have the information I need, but then I turn it off. I don't play it, in the background 24/7. And that's just part of me looking after myself. One of the places I go on Facebook is the group called The Kindness Pandemic. So it originally started in Australia, but I think it's worldwide now. And it literally is just stories of acts of kindness and things people have done for other people, or acts that have been done to them, and they're sharing. And it's just such a wonderful place to go and read these things. I think acts of kindness, we've always been doing them. We just haven't necessarily talked about them so openly and in such a, organised place. There's this one place I can go to read.
I think that's good. I think that we need to share more about the good stuff that's been going on.
And that leads into our fifth tip around attitude. So it's all about how we approach this. So, we can stamping our feet and having a temper tantrum and, being like a little kid, or we can go, well, this is what it is. How can I make the most of this and be happy?
It's not like humans haven't gone through this before. We just haven't gone through it before. So in a way, it's kind of a challenge to see how resilient we are and how can we make this a better situation, come out from it. It's a challenge. If you look at it in the positive, there's a lot of great things that have come from it. I've gotten to spend more date nights than ever before. I'm doing a lot more cooking, so I'm not eating out as much. So I actually think that I'm losing a little bit of weight, which is good. And I'm getting to have some meaningful conversations that, otherwise I might not have had because we get so involved in our lives.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of really good things that can come out of this if you look at it in a different perspective, kind of step out. I think if you always look at the negative, you're in that box with a few holes in it and you're peering through this tunnel vision. And then when you lift the box off, you realize, oh, it's not as bad as I thought.
For me, one example is the birds where I live. They're very, very noisy. And the ironic thing is that I planted heaps of native trees at my place. So part of that was to actually welcome the birds and have an environment for them anyway. So now they're here, but they're very noisy. So we have to I'll have to talk to them better about not being so noisy. As a result of that has been when I've been doing video recordings. You can hear these chirps in the background, particularly when the lorikeets and the parrots are in full song. They're really noisy and you can really hear them. So I was getting really cranky at them, at the birds. And I was like, I can't change it. What are you doing? This is crazy. I've just kind of gone, okay, my videos are going to have bird noises in them. There could be worse things. So it's okay.
Just work that into your branding.
Yes. Yes, I'll put a parrot or a lorikeet in on my branding from now on, because they certainly appear in all the videos I've been doing.
That'll be part of your soundtrack.
So it's things like that. It's like you choose your attitude. So you can either go, this sucks, but that's okay. I'm going to, do this, or this is the attitude I choose to take in this regard.
So focus on your breathing.
Yes.
Focus on exercise.
Yes.
Say it's okay to not always be in control.
Yes. Release control.
So number 4 was being kind to yourself, saying it's okay if you feel down or if you want to take a break or step away for a little while, which leads us into the 5th one, watching our attitudes,
yes.
And making sure that we realize, when we're getting cranky or when we're getting down, that we need to maybe just step away from the keyboard, step away from life, step away from everything, and take a few minutes to ourselves to kind of get back in sync.
And of course, breath is one of those things to help with your attitude. So literally
kind of go around full circle.
Yes, yeah. All 5 things all work together. So it's not necessarily one thing at a time. It's you can incorporate all those things into your daily practice so that we get through 2020 and we get out the other end.
Well, thank you so much for today and for giving us these 5 fantastic tips on how to deal with the crazy life of 2020 at the moment. This is Essie Smith saying, have a great day.
And I'm Narelle Todd. Thank you for being here. And I hope you put all 5 tips into practice.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. We've got way more information we want to share with you to increase your book sales. So please come and join me at facebook.com. Get my book out there.